This is without a shadow of doubt the most shocking news that AutoTrader have given car dealers and, crucially, the general public in a long time. I think they have made a massive balls up with this, and it's going to be really interesting to see what the repercussions of this decision is. So if you're new to the channel, thank you for joining me. I'm a humble car dealer based up in Bingley in West Yorkshire, trying to make a living by buying and selling second-hand cars. If you're not new to the channel, welcome back. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This one is an AutoTrader rant, and it's not going to be throwing them to the wolves. It's not going to be biased, but I'm going to give you the raw, unadulterated facts as to what is going on with Deal Builder. If you don't know what Deal Builder is essentially a way for the general public to buy cars differently. AutoTrader are trying to change the way that the car industry works, and being them such a big company with such a monopoly, they can do what they want. And unfortunately, I think this is going to cause problems for them, for the customers, and for ourselves as well. So let me talk you through what Deal Builder is, and let me talk you through what the problems about Deal Builder are, and let me talk you through AutoTrader's profits and what might happen with AutoTrader moving forward as well, because I think this is a big own goal. Okay, so if you don't know what AutoTrader is a platform which we subscribe to as car dealers, allowing us to showcase our cars for sale to the general public. They are a huge business. It is apparently the place to go to buy cars from, although I know a lot of dealers that don't use it anymore, which is going to be interesting when we're talking about their figures. However, massive company, it tends to be the go-to. Usually if you have a customer coming in, you say, where did you find our car? They'll say AutoTrader, even if it wasn't, because it's just ingrained into the British psychology that this is how you buy a car. So, massive company. Now, their fees are of the highest in the industry without a shadow of a doubt, but the return on investment when you look at actually how many cars you sell through them is usually better than other platforms. So they can hide behind the fact that they've got this massive market share. We know that. That isn't news to anybody. What is news is something called Deal Builder. Now, Deal Builder is a way of a customer essentially reserving a car on AutoTrader and then being able to make the decision as to what they want to do moving after that. And that, unfortunately, is the key problem with this. So, I'm on AutoTrader, Mrs. Jones, and I'm looking to buy a Nissan Qashqai. I find one for sale. It's a nice colour. It looks right. The service history looks good from the description, etc. It is 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and I'm 3 glasses of white Zinfandel in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reserve that car. I'll have that, thank you very much. Right, £99 comes out of my account, and that car is now reserved for up to 21 days. So for 21 days, AutoTrader are going to keep my £99 whilst I make a decision as to what I want to do. Let's flip onto the other side. My name's Rob. I'm a car dealer. I'm sat there on an evening enjoying my Buckfast. Whatever. And I get a notification through from AutoTrader that Mrs. Jones has indeed reserved my car. She wants to buy it, or it might seem she wants to buy it because she's reserved it and therefore she's definitely committed. And this is where there's a problem. The customer can make a decision throughout that 21 days as to what they want to do. If they decide after they've recovered from the heavy night drinking rosé that they don't want to buy the car anymore, they can just cancel the deal. They can drag it on as long as they want to do. Now, the problem with this is a great way of customers making sure that, yes, I want that car, don't want to miss it, bam, let's reserve it. And I imagine that there's plenty of people out there that do this with all the right intentions. However, buyer remorse sets in rather quickly and people back out of deals. Now, as a car dealer, when I'm taking a deposit or a reservation on a car, that is usually after some form of a qualifying call. So say, have you got a part exchange? What do we want to give you for it? Do you need to know anything about our car? Let's talk you through the warranty situation. Do you need finance? Let's get you a quote. Let's make sure you can have the finance, etc., etc. There's a huge amount of qualifying to do before a car, in my opinion, comes off the market and is reserved for a customer. Now, the rationale for that is twofold. Number one, from a dealer, I want to make sure that I'm not taking my car out of the market and other people that might be a buyer in a better position. Also, from a consumer's point of view, you're interested in the car and all of a sudden it's been reserved. You have no idea what's going on and you're no longer interested in that because it's sold, hasn't it, apparently. The process of reserving a car without having any sort of conversation doesn't sit right with me, and it doesn't sit right with a lot of car dealers. Now, Deal Builder, or Deal Blocker, as a lot of dealers have been referring to it, has been in the background for a long time. We've had it running on our system. We rarely do any deals through it, but it's just sort of been there. And we've been told, under no uncertain terms, that it is not essential. You don't need it. It's not going to be forced upon us, and you can decide what you want to do. Well, this is where the big news comes in. AutoTrader, in their infinite wisdom, have decided to make this compulsory. So therefore, moving forwards, we have to have Deal Builder built into our accounts. That's pretty bad in its own right, but there's worse news coming. I mean, that isn't sort of the worst thing about it. But essentially what it means now is that a customer can reserve a car, AutoTrader take their £99 and put it into their kitty for up to 21 days. And there are then terms and conditions that are applied to us as dealers as to how we then need to operate and deal with the customer. I'm sorry, I thought we were just paying you to advertise the cars, but now it appears they're getting involved in the actual deal building process. AutoTrader will value the part exchange for you. Okay, the one that needs a full side of paint with no service history, but you just give them a book price on it, and apparently we all work towards that. And they will then leave it up to us to work with the customer to try and get the deal done. Now, the biggest problem there is that the car is then removed from sale whilst we try and work out whether or not this customer is definitely someone that's buying our car. Now, the problem we've got with that is we pay a huge amount to advertise on AutoTrader, and if you've got a month window where you've got an Audi for sale and a customer reserves it for a week, well, it's cost me 150 quid for the month, but it's not been online for a week of that month because it's been reserved through Deal Builder. You see how this is starting to cause a bit of a problem? This isn't even the worst thing about it. I can give you a couple of stories that are real time and what have happened. So I've got a mate up the road who owns a dealership. He had a van for sale. He's not a van sales guy, but he had a van for sale. He put it onto AutoTrader and he put it on at a really, really keen price. It was reserved practically immediately. Someone's seen it come up and gone, I'll have that and reserve it. In the meantime, over the weekend, and bearing in mind he'd not heard from the person who'd reserved it yet, someone got in touch and said, I'm calling about the van, but I can see it's been reserved. Is it still for sale? My mate said, yes, it's still for sale because whoever's reserved it hasn't rung us. We've no idea what's going on. He then ended up selling the van to the guy that hadn't reserved it on Deal Builder. Subsequently, the guy that had reserved it, or girl or whoever had reserved it at the start, just cancelled the deal. Had the person who ended up buying the van not have been on the mindset to just ring and double check anyway to see whether or not it was reserved, my mate would have lost that deal. It would have been off AutoTrader for a number of days. He would have paid to advertise it and in turn lost the deal at the same time. That's one of the problems I've got with Deal Builder. We've got one going on at the moment. A guy's put a deposit on an Audi RS6. I was speaking to a bloke, it literally happened when I was on the phone to him, speaking to a bloke about the car, and an email came through saying this other chap has reserved it. Now, I didn't, in my infinite wisdom, tell the bloke I was speaking to it being reserved. But what I did do was get back in touch with the bloke who'd reserved it through AutoTrader Deal Builder, and he advised me he was in Dubai for a few days and couldn't speak for a while. Now that's fair enough and that's fine. And look, the thing is, I'm not having a pop at people who are reserving cars at all. That's our customers at the end of the day. But I'm having a pop with this whole process because as a result of the car going up as reserved, the first guy that I was speaking to has lost interest because he thinks it's been reserved. And the chap who's now come back from Dubai, we're only just now on Tuesday starting the qualifying questions that he's asking me as a dealer as to whether or not it's a car that he wants to buy. What's the service history? Can you send me all the dates? Can you send me all the invoices? What's the condition like? What's your warranties like? Do you offer finance? All these questions that should have been asked at the start before he took the car offline, which essentially he has done, are now being asked 5 days later. Doesn't sit right with me at all. So can you see this is causing a problem? Now this is causing a problem at a time when margins are tighter than they've ever been, the running costs of business are higher than they've ever been, and dealers are getting more and more wound up than they've ever been getting wound up. And we're an easy bunch to wind up, let's face it. However, this is the worst thing about it. AutoTrader, saying that they weren't going to implement it in the first place, have now decided that it's going to be mandatory and you have to have Deal Builder built into the system, which has annoyed us anyway. They're now charging for it. We don't know what the costs are going to be exactly, but it appears that they're going to be charging for this service that they have made mandatory, so we can't get out of it. That is going to mean that our cars are not advertised in the way that we want them to be advertised. We are losing control over the person who's buying the car and the process of buying the car. And they are apparently going to start charging for this now, and they're going to start charging a percentage of the car's value. Wrap your head around that one. So I've done some quick sums on this. Apparently it's going to be 0.25%. Now, to give you a bit of an idea, last year we might turn over 3 million quid's worth of cars, which isn't an absurd number at all. We do some fairly high-end stuff and some mid-range stuff and some sort of across the board a bit of everything. 3 million quid is not a big stretch for a car dealer to be turning over. At 0.25%, that's 7.5 grand a year on top going to AutoTrader for a system that we don't want. And we've all been very, very vocal about not wanting. So where does it put the car dealer? Well, it puts the car dealer in a bit of an awkward position, doesn't it? Because what's your options? Well, you either suck it up, pay AutoTrader even more fees. And let's bear in mind that they increase the fees every year. Last year was 8%. This year it's due in April, and next year it'll be due in April, and we can only assume it's going to be the same on top of the Deal Builder fee. So we're going to be paying for this service, whether we like it or not. There are other options out there, but they don't give you the same return. You certainly don't get as many leads as you get through AutoTrader. But I think they're finally boxing us into a corner here where dealers are going, I'm just not having it. There are other ways that I can sell cars, and this is where it'd be really interesting to get some opinions of people that are viewing the video. Where do you buy cars from? Because with AutoTrader, the problem is because it's in the UK sort of psyche, when you're buying a car, you just think AutoTrader springs to mind, and all credit to them for building such a fantastic brand. But when you ask a customer where you've seen your car for sale, a lot of them will just automatically say AutoTrader. Now, I know this to be the case because I know some dealers that don't use AutoTrader and ask the question to the customers and they still say AutoTrader. So it's hard to actually quantify where your deals are coming from. However, I think they're putting us in a position where you've just got to try it, haven't you? So the problem I think here, I think it's a massive own goal from AutoTrader, because what you've done, you've created an issue for customers buying cars because it can be reserved from anybody who's not even interested in the car can just reserve it, for example, which means that it's taking cars off the market that you might be interested in yourself. So I think it's a bad thing for consumers. It's obviously a bad thing for dealers, and obviously a bad thing to charge dealers for it as well. And I think the byproduct of this as well, which is something we don't talk about, is AutoTrader is a PLC. It's a share-driven company. It's owned by shareholders. And when you look at the share price over the last year, I mean, as of today while I'm talking, it's dropped by 8.25%. They've not yet released their figures for Thursday, which is going to happen for their 6-month figures. That's going to happen on Thursday this week, the 6th of November. If those figures are lower, then from a shareholder's point of view, that's not ideal. I know it's not been a great year for investing anyway. If those figures are higher, from a dealer's point of view, looking at that, that's really offensive. So you might even end up with more of an exodus. So if I was the owner of AutoTrader, and no, there isn't because it's shareholders, then I'd be thinking I've created a bit of a problem here whereby I've created a worse product, whichever way I want to dress it up. I've created a product that is forcing dealers away, whichever way I want to dress it up. And I've created a product that if I don't get the return for the shareholders that I'm expected to get, which is less likely because we're forcing dealers away, and also because we're putting our prices up but dealers aren't willing to pay it anymore, then we could end up with shareholders selling shares, which in turn is creating a problem at our end as well. Now, AutoTrader work on around about a 70% profit margin, so I don't think it's going to be a mass exodus and it's going to wipe them out by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't know what you think. Is this just not a massive own goal from AutoTrader's point of view? What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up here with a couple of quotes from some of the key boffins at AutoTrader. And this is the Chief Product Officer, and this is her take on Deal Builder, which, as you can imagine after listening to this entire video, isn't necessarily our take on Deal Builder. And I do speak in confidence here for a lot of dealers, just looking at what is going on in the car dealing groups that we're all a part of. People are off. And this is what she's got to say. The uniqueness of AutoTrader is how we respond to change and how we support retailers and partners through these changes. This is why, after an extensive period of working with retailers, don't remember that, to evolve Deal Builder and to ensure it delivers the best possible results, we have made the decision to make it available to all, which is a very cute way of saying implement it whether you like it or not. By unlocking digital retailing for everybody, it will not only revolutionize how retail is engaged with customers, it is a revolution because apparently we're not allowed to speak to them anymore, but will provide a new era of rich buyer intelligence. I have literally no idea what that comment means. Helping to convert deals more easily, totally disagree. Maximize revenue opportunities, absolute lie. And optimize operational capacity. Look, I get she's got a job to do and I'm sure she's incredible at what she does, but that does not echo what is going on in the market. That does absolutely not echo what dealers are feeling and what dealers are saying. If you're an investor in AutoTrader, then don't worry because there is good news on that. So the CEO has delivered this for 2025. So 2025 has marked another year of significant growth for AutoTrader. The UK car market is in good health, probably the worst it's ever been. And we continue to deliver against our strategy to improve car buying and retailing. Now, again, I'm not criticising him. He's obviously very good at what he does. He's in a fantastic position and probably earns a huge amount of money, so fair play to him. But I totally disagree with that statement, and I'm not sure if you agree or disagree Anyway, now I know this is going to go down as either a car dealer whinging or go down as Rob's having another rant about AutoTrader. Look, I don't have a problem with the product as a rule. I do think it's got to a point where it's becoming lopsided because of how expensive it is, but I do think it's the best way of getting in front of customers. However, I do feel that what AutoTrader have got now is a monopoly, and they're starting to make decisions that are, in my opinion, not their decisions to make. They're making it worse for consumers, worse for dealers, and potentially worse for shareholders, which should be the only driving factor in their company, shouldn't it? Because it appears to be. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. So it'd be interesting to know feedback from yourselves watching this. Do you think I'm just having another mad rant? Yes, it is a mad rant, but I think it's justified. And also, how are you buying your cars now? Because for me, AutoTrader always used to be like the place to go. But now the more and more social media you're seeing of people, I mean, we're selling cars off YouTube that we're not expecting to do or genuinely trying to do. It's a byproduct. But I know dealers that are using Instagram, dealers that are using TikTok, I know dealers that are using Google sort of algorithms and SEOs and all that sort of stuff. I don't really understand it, but I can certainly pay someone who does. There are lots of different ways that the buying journey is happening now. It'd be interesting to know the last car that you bought, how did you buy it? Was it through AutoTrader, or was it because something caught your eye somewhere else? Because that is the subconscious advertising where I think that dealers are going to start heading towards, which actually is probably going to be better for a consumer because they've been having something fed to them which is right for them, rather than giving this control and decision and all the other options that when you're buying a car just makes the job more complicated. I just want to buy the right car. Thoughts, feelings and opinions on a postcard, please. I feel like I've made some really valid points there. It feels good to get it off my chest and part of some really good sort of groups at the moment, people talking about what they're doing, voting with their feet, etc., etc. So I think massive own goal, but what's it going to look like? You tell me. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.